let's go ahead.
Awesome. Well, Leena, thank you so much for helping my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
My name is Leena Asher, and I work in the oil and gas industry. That's what got me to Houston with my job. I'm not really so well versed with what you're doing, but certainly interested to hear more from you and what you're doing on the project. Personally, on my work profile, I work in the oil and gas industry and more focused on the shipping side. It's been a very busy year for us as well. With the oil markets really touching on the bottom out and then rising up, and yeah, it's been very busy on the work front. I specialize in a function called demurrage in the shipping industry.
What's the function called?
It's called demurrage,
Demurrage.
Demurrage, demurrage.
What is that?
It's really the calculation of all the extra time on the oil tankers. So it's like a rent a car. So you sign up for an X number of days with the oil tanker, and then anything over and above that used by the company or the, let's say, the leaser or the renter is calculated as demurrage. Now these tankers are very expensive assets because they are millions of dollars of worth of these tankers, and any extra usage means pay up for it. It's just time is money in this business. So my portfolio actually runs into millions of dollars. I mean, some of the, in fact, very interestingly, in April this year, when oil was going on a complete bottom out, the tanker rates jumped 750% up. So I saw a daily tanker rate go from 20,000 in some cases to 150,000 a day. So it's been crazy for us as well. So that's what
It,
really I do. I calculate. I specialize in really doing demurrage, and there are a lot of things that go along with it, the contracts and the maritime legal clauses that go with it.
I think it was like back in April, there was like this exchange traded oil fund that actually went
Hmm.
negative at some point because they had all these contracts that were coming due and they had no place to put the oil.
That's right. But then, interestingly, the oil taps don't stop. Oil keeps flowing. So even if it goes negative, it has to go negative. Even if there's an oversupply, but the supply will not stop. That's what it really means. So because the supply cannot stop and there's an oversupply, it just means that whoever gets their hands on it, and the contracts then started trading into negative dollar values. That's right.
Wow, how do you keep track of it? Is it Excel spreadsheets, databases, something else, or how do you manage this?
The oil price is like a stock value that's traded every minute, every day. So there's a whole oil stock exchange where there are different exchanges, like just like you have the Nasdaq and the other stock exchanges around the world. Same oil is traded on different exchanges, but the main one is the Brent and then the WTI. The WTI is basically the West Texas index. That's what we follow here in US. That's the one that we're talking about then went into the negative dollar value. So the Texan, the West Texas index is the one that keeps track of the oil prices. And what really happens is it's traded. It's like, let's say today, the value of oil that was minus $35 a barrel in April is $51 today a barrel. So depending on pretty much the same way how the stock market functions is how oil functions. It's all sentiments. So how positive are we if people will start flying in, let's say, the next year? So there is a lot of optimism, but there's guarded optimism. So if someone had to purchase oil stocks, they probably do it. It bit of caution, but there is still optimism because people will go back to flying, driving, everything around that burns oil. So yeah, it's a very interesting way of keeping track, and there's a lot of money in that industry. It's one of the old industries in the world, yeah. And we're
And
at a very interesting junction in US because we now have a new minister of I think transport who believes in clean energy and green energy. So fossil fuels are probably not going to last too long. We want to look at cleaner energy like wind energy and solar energy coming up. And we already know that how that's promoted in Texas more specifically than in other states. So interestingly, on I don't know if you've read the news, but a lot of oil companies have lost their top cream managers who have resigned because they want to move into roles now that are offered with companies that work in the clean energy zone. Yep.
Wow. And I guess the futures market's like really good too, so you could kind of get some idea on the pricing a year out, 2 years out before you start an oil project or something and kind of maybe lock in some of the
Trade and oil
pricing.
pretty much. Yes. Well, Reuters, just like all the other news, Reuters keeps very good track of how the oil market is doing. News today is far more spread out, more connected and updated than ever before. So anyone who's interested in investing in any kind of stocks has a lot of background information available than anything else, really, more than ever before. So yes, anyone's interested in doing oil trading. It's just like any other commodity, whether it's gold, it's metals, it's food, tea, coffee, soybeans. Soybeans is traded very high around the world. It's one commodity that's traded really high in quantity. So anyone can trade in oil as well.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how news has changed in the sense that you can go into extremely detailed news about a particular topic, and if you're looking for it, you can find it. But in terms of everybody having common perception of some general events, that's kind of broken down with the way that news has come. Um, used to we all read the same newspapers, watched the same nighttime news broadcasts, listening to the same news radio, uh, and now everybody gets their very personalized news. So if it's something you're interested in, you got all the details. But if the algorithm doesn't think you're interested in it, you'll never see it pop up.
That's right. That's right. Well, news today, it shows you what you want to know. And it shows you your perception of the news, really.
And what do you think about that? Is that a good development, or is there some dangers there?
Personally, I think whether we like it or not, I'm actually working on my second book. And my second book is actually about this one. It's about how our addiction with the mobile phones and that relationship changed during the COVID-19 situation. We already have an addiction going on. It's an ongoing, for me, it's an issue. But whether we like it or not, it's here to stay. Whether we're going to discipline ourselves to it or whether we're going to embrace it more positively, I think we are today in a zone where each one of us is left to their own. So let me give you an example. I'm sure your parents or mine for a longer time wouldn't have known what to do with all this new smartphones and all the apps that are coming up with these phones, right? And for a long time, there would be a debate in a household of why do we need it? Well, today that debate doesn't exist anymore because it's not a question of do we need it or not, because it is a part of our lives. It's not going to go anywhere, right? The whole world is coming to the hands of our palm. It's just the mobile phone size. Is it going to go away? No, it's only going to go on. So let me tell you, when you and me would have been studying our undergrad and grad degrees, it would have helped us in our work life for at least a few years, not more than that. But today, anyone who goes into school is not going to use their education because information is changing so much faster than the curriculum is being developed. So the curriculum is not keeping pace with information being developed. We are pretty much always been that way on how we want to take up the new innovations and where it's going to lead us. But what I do know is that nothing's going to stop innovation, nothing's going to stop technology, and all of this, nothing's going to stop the way the new world is. We are in the thick of it now, shaping up how media is changing our world, how we are changing our lives daily on a daily basis. I mean, for me, personal level, in Dubai, shopping was like a national sport, really, because there's nothing much going on. Everyone's got so much of household. Shopping was a big thing. Whereas here, I see shoppings online. People do a lot of shopping online. I do a lot of shopping online during COVID for groceries to be picked up from the curbside. Didn't want to meet anyone, right? So that's technology. Guess what? The next few years, people get so used to this technology, no one wants to step out of their home. How that impacts human interactions, how humans going to start talking to each other? What are the feelings that are going to change between people? Do people actually have the time anymore to even listen out or hear anybody? So I think we're in the thick of a lot of changes that are happening and which were already ongoing, but which have been fueled further in this situation. And it's only going to go on more and more because I don't think the virus is going away anywhere sooner.
Yeah, and you have these supermarkets that are in prime locations because they want to get the traffic that comes through them. But at some point, the online shopping is going to shift to getting it from like these huge warehouses that are on like the cheapest real estate wherever, and then your local grocery stores are going to really shrink and become more like convenience stores, I think.
Yeah. And the mom and pop stores, that's a completely different area of conversation. Something that entrepreneurs were always encouraged to develop, bring up the entrepreneur skill set, use their innovation, the individual mindset in development of business, the growth opportunities that exist within creating a business, creating job opportunities for people in a mom and pop business. I think a lot of that is going to change as well because technology is taken over. So let me give a very short story, very short one of what I experienced this morning at Walmart. And I came across this lady who said she was originally from Malaysia, came here as a student, but had an amazing business mindset. And she was successful in doing her business. But guess what? She couldn't keep up with the technology. She just cannot keep up with all of the innovation that's happening around her. And nothing's going to stop. No one's going to stop that. So she couldn't keep up and she ran out of business. Another example of how a mom and pop store actually dies its death because I think creativity is probably something that we're going to lose or it's going to change. It's going to have a new face now.
What
What
kind
face?
of
Don't know.
what kind of business was she in?
She had a business of antiques.
Antiques. Okay.
So imagine a business of antiques where people don't want to walk into the store anymore. Everyone's shopping for it online too. And shipping has changed. The way people buying has changed. I mean, pretty much typically people in their 40s or people who are more settled in life are the ones who'd go shopping for antiques, right? Those are the
Mm.
people who are they're the ones hit most with the virus situation. They're the ones told to stay home more, right? So with them staying home more, they're not going to be walking into those stores. So they're going to be shopping online. But the guys who own these stores, they don't know about the online world because they themselves are of the same era. So now they either got to buck up, get someone to put the whole business online, and then make that shift and hold the inventory, like you said, in a probably a warehouse. They don't need a nice store anymore. So I think we are in a changing world that's changing very fast and a pace that that's we really can't keep track of anymore. I think each is to their own, just like the virus situation. Each is to their own. Everyone takes their own decision on how they want to lead their lives. But at some point, we will have to just keep educated, and awareness helps. Awareness helps us to know what's really just going on, and then use our own individual mindsets really to accept what's going on and then accept at what pace we want our own individual lives to be. Because I have a big problem with the addiction of how mobile phones are governing our lives. I mean, come on. um, I don't remember growing up if we had mobile phones on our bedside. No. Today we're talking about more people having health issues. The reason being the radiation. These are electronic devices. Yeah, I mean, all the software is beautiful and apps are great, but they emit radiation. It's not good for us, right? So, I mean, all of these have medical issues which we don't really know about. Right now, we probably come to know about these in a few years down the line, and then by then it will be too late because we are the generation going through this shift along with the ones who've already taken it as babies. I'm sure the babies who are born now, they might get out of it, but we probably we'll be the first generation to see all the effects of it, right? So, I mean, let me give you an example of what happened at our home. So Sunny, my husband, had to visit the doctor early in the year, and he said he's got a neck issue. Clearly, the neck issue comes from looking down into the mobile phone, right?
Mm,
So the doctor did warn him that you need to hold the mobile phone at eye level. It's hard to do
yeah,
that.
like
Why?
up
Because
here.
holding the hand at that arm's distance is hard. It hurts the hand. It's easier to keep that hand down. So, well, that was in January, and we're in November. By October, he had to have an MRI done because the
Mm.
MRI needs to scan what's going on in that head. Why does he have constant headache? Why his eyes are always dry? Why he's got this pain in the neck? All of these are issues, and they're all interconnected, right? So, I mean, I'm actually running a drive at home that we need to keep our addictions under control. We all have addictions, yeah. We all have, someone's got addiction to food, someone's got addiction to the mobile phone, someone's got addiction into the TV. Someone, actually, one of our younger son has addiction to fitness. He's a fitness freak. So we all have addictions. I got to accept that as a first case. But the second layer is how do we keep that control? And that's where we really are in this. It's taught us a lot. I mean, this pandemic has really taught us to sit back and reflect on where we are and how we want the space to go around. I mean, do we really want to move that fast? And is it really worth it? Because eventually the world will move on, it'll move very fast. And yes, people will develop very fast and with lots and lots of money too. Um, but we'll only have ourselves and our body and our health to live with.
That's absolutely true. And I was thinking about a little hat with like a pole where you put the phone right there. That could help. But it's have you heard of this?
Yeah, and I guess we need people like you today who can actually, we're talking of innovations, we're talking of creativity. More see people will come up with solutions because these are problems that I think everyone's facing, right? I mean, I'm the lady I'm talking to you about, the one I met at Walmart, the one with the antique store. I think she's of a blessed generation who don't know how to operate the mobile phone too well. So that's great because they don't have those issues. They don't have the neck issues that we do. Her eyes are okay. Her head's not paining. She doesn't use that mobile phone. She still uses it for what it was meant to be used. It was developed to be used as a tool to keep talking to people on the go. It was a handheld mobile device. I don't know from where. So actually, my book introduction, when I did some research to actually put down the preface of my book, so 1983, when the first guy held his mobile phone, it was a big shoe size device.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean you had a pouch that you had to
Yeah,
keep it on the
true.
side or you just kept it in the car. I mean, it was
And
literally a
people
car
were so
phone.
proud of it. Yes. And look at where we have come now. And I think they have their own challenges, they have their own blessings. I'm sure we have our own conveniences with the phone. But that's one part of the story. The other part is, yes, with this now, there, the phones, how's the media reshaping our world? Uh, I'm sure you know much more about it than I do, but the media is changing by the day.
Have
The
you heard
way
of
media,
have you heard of a book, The Hacking of the American Mind?
yes, yes, I did.
Yeah.
And
Did you
that is a reality.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a large part of it, right? It's like trying to get you addicted to, what's happening now, playing on your fear of missing out. Like something's happening right now and you're not a part of it. Get on your phone and, you know, it's kind of
That's right. Have you seen this documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma?
the social dilemma. I don't think so.
You should. So it's interesting because it's the makers of the social platforms like Facebook or Instagram, yeah. And it's the coders and the developers of the social media who accepted, saying that when we were developing it, we did not know the beast that we were preparing, that it's turned out to be today. But you and me connect through Facebook. I see that you guys are doing well, you're happy, and everything is good in your life only because I have a social media platform to see you. But then I have friends who look at other friends' happy pictures, travel pictures, great experience pictures of life, and are so depressed because they don't know why they cannot match up to all of those great things going on in their life, right? So social media, that's a good documentary, an eye opener too. But then again, like we discussed, social media is, like you said rightly, it's how we perceive it and how we want to see it. And then where do we see ourselves fitting into this whole big puzzle that we are in today?
Yeah, it's a interesting experience. Yeah, my wife was just looking at some pictures online of a friend of hers who was hiking out in West Texas, and she's like, "I want to go on hikes like that. Why aren't we doing that?" So, uh,
Something like this didn't exist even 10
on
years back.
on the positive side, maybe we'll end up going to do that, and we never would have. On the negative side, maybe we feel sad that we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the
I have between two friends, one in Dubai and one in Toronto. I had this lady who moved out of Dubai, moved to Toronto because she thought Dubai life was not so great. And then when she was in Toronto, she started seeing pictures of her friends in Dubai having fun and moved back to Dubai. And then she said, "Oh, I cannot afford the life in Dubai," and went back to Toronto. The power of social media again.
my goodness. Yeah, sometimes you just have to close your eyes
Yeah,
to what other people are doing and create the life that makes sense for you.
yeah, yeah. It is. It is the way it is. And I think we hold a big responsibility um, as parents on how we're going to shape the next generation. Well, our kids are probably far more influenced, but I can tell you a lot of people, um, they only go to bed after they've switched off their mobile phones. That's the last thing at night after they've checked all the updates, and they wake up with their mobile phones looking for the first few updates of the day. So not only us, we are also shaping the next generation to come.
I know. And then even from birth, kids are seeing their parents act this way, and it becomes just part of what normal is to them.
Mhm.
Well, I
Yep.
had a couple of moon questions I wanted to ask you before we ran out of time. Did you know that we were planning to send people back to the moon in 2024?
I didn't, only until I read your article. I didn't.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to the whole point of how personalized our news is. People who are in space community, it's like all over the place, and people who aren't. I even talked to one person, and they said, "Why is NASA keeping it a secret?" So in his mind, it was
Is it,
even being suppressed.
is it a secret?
It's not a secret, no. In fact, it was even mentioned at the State of the Union address. There's been numerous articles. NASA's been promoting it through their social media channels and what have you. But um, you know, I, if it's not an interest of yours, then it gets filtered out. Uh,
Yes, because news is so personalized now.
so what do you think about it? Good, bad, wrong timing? How do you think about this idea of people going to the moon and further out into space? It's,
Absolutely, because I think things like these are far more, I'm sure, but I'm not very well educated on the topic to give my 2 cents. But I guess there is a lot of research and in depth analysis done on these questions of why and how it needs to be done. So the big question is why it should be done. I would say it's important to explore these because if we could have, we wouldn't have explored it. We would never be able to build up on our education system where we are today. It's because we have been researching, and research and development is a big part of where we are even today. So definitely need it to do it. When the timeline, again, I'm sure the agencies that do it are well aware about um, the several factors that they take into consideration when they do it. So, and if any of that is having a variable in it, can be shifted. Why it should be shifted again? So for me, I'm very curious on, I have more questions if you have more questions on the
Oh,
subject, because I'm not educated enough on it to give you an answer on are they doing it right. For me, I would think my my instant answer is yes. There needs to be development, there needs to be knowledge, and knowledge that needs to be shared, and we need to do this research all the time. When it should be done, again, like I said, oh my God, information technology, scientific researchers are moving at a pace so much faster than we can realize that maybe today the scientists who are working on sending people back into space, and I don't know how many you're talking about, but when they're talking of sending man back into space, it's going to be a different experience than they send the first guy on moon, because at that time the technology used, the information that it brought back, how they use the information that was brought back would be completely different than what they're going to do today. Because today we got not just humans going on moon, the one that you're talking about that's planned, but also they've got AI. So you've got artificial intelligence that they probably, not that they will take, but they will leave it there. And that may probably stay there for many more years, just feeding information back to it. I'm sure there's technology out there that's going to do this. Don't know how, but I'm sure there is technology that they will probably. So going there, a big yes from me. Whether it's necessary, I'm sure every government has budgeting and reasoning and um, tools and why they do it. Like if we didn't have these kind of advances in science, we would be where we are when we began. So definitely needed. Someone needs to do that. Some person, some agency, and with the right leadership in place, they need to do it, because only then we know what else, what's next. I don't know. I mean, have you heard about dinosaurs when we become extinct? Do we have a plan B? This planet's probably going to go up for a toss if we all cease to exist at some point when the pandemic began. Didn't it seem like we are going to perish, all of us, with everyone locked into our homes? It sounded like the end is so close, but here we are, and now we're waiting for a vaccine. Yeah, so a lot of it is because someone actually took the initiative of continuing the R&D, doing the research along the way while we sat inside our homes.
um, I think a lot of the justification for going back to the moon might really hinge on sort of how you see the future of humanity. There's essentially so many futures that humanity can have, but they could all be boiled down to at least two. One is which we only stay on the Earth, and the Earth is like the end, that's where humanity ends. Another future is where we expand beyond the Earth, and we have habitats in orbit around the Earth. We're mining resources on the moon. We have people living and visiting the moon. We have people going to Mars. We have people going to Venus. We have people going to the asteroid belt and doing mining, the moons of Jupiter, the moons of Saturn. Maybe creating huge ships that are able to make multi-generational journeys to other star systems over the course of thousands of years. So you kind of have those two visions of the future of humanity. Um, which one do you makes more sense to you? Do you feel that humanity will only be on the Earth, or do you see us really branching out into the rest of the solar system, the galaxy, the universe, and there will be humans living around stars, um, all over the place?
I think me in my industry, I cannot give that answer, but I'm sure someone from the medical industry would be able to give you a better answer. The reason being, um, because that it's the medical industry that's doing all the research about how we see um, the the life expectancy really going. So that's one part of it. Yeah, like let me give you an example. We spoke to a doctor who said, I'm diabetic, but oh, maybe in the next 20 years diabetes may not be a condition that I need to worry about, because the 3D printers may be able to print me a new set of pancreas, so it's not a life threatening condition anymore. Yeah? So if someone doesn't have a life-threatening condition, and then we're looking at medical, the whole medicine industry advancing to a completely different level, we then looking at life expectancy much beyond what we're seeing today. With that said, and the basic fundamental that people want multi generations to exist because they want to see the genes and see the works of their genes and see how the genes perform over the generations. If that continues to, if that is something that people still want, then yeah, because that goes hand in hand with how the whole medicine industry works. Because if that works, then people will want to see how they can preserve their generations, and maybe a part of preserving their generations would be sending them to the different planets. Do those planets then have the support system to let life exist on them? Basics on, I think Mars has some qualities. The other planets may not have those qualities. Maybe have spaceships that people can visit, spaceships as big as cities on their own. Are we there yet? Definitely not. Do we have a potential to reach there? Definitely yes. I think the way we're working towards the whole, we're pretty much in a web of our own. What I mean is, we started with a www that was on the internet. Today we are on a worldwide web where we are all connected, whether we like it or not. So whether I like it or not, a doctor is still a very big part of my life. Whether I like it or not, the guy who is innovating the next AI device is part of my life. And the same way, the guy who is working in getting the next man on moon is a part of my life. We're all interconnected and we are all related. We are all in this together, because if that guy, or it's those scientists who are able to develop the mechanisms on keeping life on a different planet or a different space station apart from Earth or anywhere else, I'm sure just like we have, let's say, life insurances today, or we have stem cell technologies today, and all of this is because humans, the mind is wired in a way, and not just preserving the current generation, but also preserving the many more generations that are going to come ahead, may in that quest, probably just out of curiosity, just out of the will, want to keep, some life somewhere else. Of all you know, they could not have probably being humans moved in our generation to moon, but maybe they would have an option of keeping stem cells in a freezer on the moon, and then let the kids have that as a policy or a life insurance that, hey, you're going to have someone in the family sitting on the moon available for you. And today it sounds like a joke, but well, the mobile phone and the apps. So yesterday when I was writing on the book, the first game that I played on my Nokia was a snake and ladder game.
Mm.
It is obsolete today. The black and white screen is not visible anymore in no one's hands, and people laughed about technology that we've got today. So maybe what's coming up is something that we laugh about today, but is very much possible. It is creativity. It's about who can think how far, and how much further down are we going to go in this quest of, we don't want to stop. Is there a reason to stop? Or why should we stop? And is there an end to it? Not really.
I think I may have lied to you about it being 20 minutes. I feel like we could talk quite a bit more.
Actually, I didn't look at the clock. That's sorry, because I talk a lot. You should have known.
But I had a couple of projects I wanted to ask you about. Have you heard of Starlink? It's a project by SpaceX.
No, tell me more.
So it's a constellation of thousands of satellites in low Earth orbit that will provide high speed, low latency internet around the world. So you just need a little dish. Um, you point up to the sky, hook it up to your computer, and now you have high enough bandwidth with low enough latency to talk and have conversations like this from any place in the world, be it in the middle of Africa, Latin America, in the middle of the ocean. Yeah, I mean,
Irrespective of
imagine,
location.
let's say again.
Irrespective of location.
irrespective of location. The only places that aren't covered really are going to be the poles because of the way that the satellites orbit. And they've already started rolling out a beta version of this service in the northern United States and southern Canada. And the tests look really good. And they're launching like I think something like 700 satellites a year. I think soon they're going to be launching like thousands of satellites a year. So I think in 2021 this service should be available around the United States, any place. So you could like put on the top of an RV, go and still be connected to work, and it doesn't matter where you are. I wish they were a year ahead schedule. I would have done that.
Yes, I would sign up for it. And I'm going to read about it. Please text me more details if you have some.
Sure, and there you can sign up for the beta too. Whenever I mean they're not. You can sign up to sign up for the beta. Like you put your name on the waiting list on the interested
Sign
persons
up to
list.
sign up.
Sign up to sign up. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
but and the pricing is not all that bad. It's about $500 for the antenna, and
Hmm.
then it's $99 a month, um, unlimited. So it's just like, wow, you can have a cabin in the middle of the woods with solar panels and this, and you could, I mean, in today's economy, you could work just as if you were in a city. It's like, I think I mean, at that point, why live in a city? It's like,
Yeah, right. Well, we were in the process of buying a house, and we had a discussion at home that if you're not going to be going back to work in offices, why do we need to stay in the city anymore? So if
exactly. I mean, that's where your riots are. That's where your bomb attacks are. That's where your pandemics are. That's where the high cost of housing and transportation and everything else is. And when you can order everything to be delivered to your house online via drone, I mean, literally, why live in a city?
why live in a city? Absolutely right. I can't agree anymore with you. Absolutely, bang on. There is no need to have anything to do with the city life if we have this kind of technology coming up. And it sounds like it's very close.
It's very close. Yeah. The other thing I want to ask you about is, have you heard of SpaceX's Starship?
Uh-huh.
So this is going to be
I
a
can tell
rocket.
you I've not been watching enough of Star Wars.
But this is going to be a rocket that's going to be the most powerful rocket ever built, be able to carry 100 people into space at a time, but the cheapest per launch because it'll be 100% reusable. And get this, they can use it for point-to-point Earth travel. So you could travel from Houston to Dubai in 30 minutes.
Bang, really?
Yeah,
What technology is that? It takes us 16 hours today.
I know. I know for the price of a first class ticket on an airline, you would be able to fly in 30 minutes on this. Um,
It's amazing.
and they're actually building it, and they're building it in Brownsville, Texas, in a place called Boca Chica, and they just had a big test flight of one of their prototypes a couple of weeks ago, and I think they'll be able to use the same ship to take you from Houston to Dubai, but it also could take you from the ground to Earth orbit. So you could go to vacation in space. They could take you to the moon. They could take you to Mars.
Oh.
Um, and talking about that, if it was safe and affordable, would you have an interest in going into space?
I haven't given it a thought yet, but after I'm speaking to you, I want to give it a thought. Probably after the call, I am going to give it a thought. No, but then do what in space?
A
That's the question.
vacation. It could be, a week long in orbit with the family, just floating around, looking at the Earth.
Oh, just like the pictures we saw of you.
Yes, except not for 30 seconds at a time, continuously. So,
Maybe
uh,
experience.
yeah,
Something to think about.
it'd be kind of neat. I mean, can you imagine just looking at the Earth and everything?
Yeah. Well, my ambitions are not as big as of today, but who knows, right? I mean, now that you've told me about the satellite for the internet connection, see, my ambitions just grown. So who knows? Yeah, ambitions change every day.
Yeah, you talk about having some really great Facebook photos, right? Every day you're like this mountain, that mountain, this valley, these forests. as your RV travels across the thing. And
Yeah.
there's this German company that's working on making a completely electric RV. It has solar panels on the outside. It has electric kitchen,
Oh
electric
yeah.
engine. So basically, you just park it until you get all charged up and camp out there, and then you go to the next place, and then you park it again. You never have to fuel up.
Yeah, they're pretty much in sync with the time because the RV definitely is going to stay here now. With the work from home option, probably not going to go away for a long time. They're on the right track. This
Well, and
German company, I read about that one. Yeah,
plus, if they get the autonomous technology, and you can safely be going about your business inside of the RV while it's traveling. I mean, how cool is that? You're like, you go to sleep in one place, you wake up in another place, you
yeah,
know?
and people like it. That's what people like, right? People like traveling. People like seeing new places, experiencing new ways of life. That's what brings us here, right? I mean, we cross continents to be here. So I'm sure living an RV life is something a lot of people have interest in.
And if you had the autonomous driving going on, you could have like a caravan of these with several families, just kind of going from place to place. Be like, we.
I'm so glad we had this conversation. You're much more in sync with the future than I am.
Oh, I think about it a lot. So,
That's great.
um, well, I really appreciate the time. I didn't know you wrote a first book. What was it called?
It's called Culture Shock Dubai.
Culture Shock Dubai.
I'll
I'll
tell
need
you.
to I'll need to get it.
Well, it's everywhere. You just Google it up, and I'm sure you find a lot of copies online.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna read it next time.
It's a published book, so it's everywhere. I know it's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and everywhere. So,
I
and it got
feel like
published
I
in
picked it
Korean as
up.
well.
I feel like I picked it up and looked through it, and I didn't realize you wrote it. So that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the second book is more about this whole. Yeah, I just actually began writing it, but I'm sure well, maybe I interview you at some point for my book.
That'd be awesome. When is it coming out? Or when do you think? A year or
Really
two?
working on it. Yeah, it'll take me a few months, I guess, but that's what I'm into now these days because we are in the thick of it, right? So I want to see some more. I want to get some more information on what the impacts are. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I know you probably have other things to do today, but I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to talking again sometime.
I will. Let's keep in touch. You're doing great work, Nathan. So proud of you.
Well, thank you. It's only because I have great friends like you supporting me.
Yeah. Keep in touch. God
Okay,
bless.
bye bye.
Oh, I should have started with saying Merry Christmas. Hope you guys had a great time. Bye bye.
Okay, and Happy New Year, and may your 2021 be better than your 2020.
Yes, absolutely. We don't want to see anything. No one say I'm positive in 2021.
Exactly.
Take care, Nathan. Talk to you then.
Bye
Have a
bye.
good day. Bye. Bye.